I believe we have a quorum, and are we expecting anyone else? It appears that we're missing Nick. Are we expecting him?
Nick is unable to attend this morning.
Okay, excellent. So shall we begin?
I am just waiting on finance director to sign in.
Minor detail.
Carol, we're all set. We have everyone here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call to order the quarterly meeting of the Measure P and S Oversight Committee. We have announcements first, do we not?
Yes. In-person rules. The city of Monterey is committed to the safe attendance of its public meetings. Masks are required for all who attend in person, regardless of vaccination status, except those who are younger than 2 years old or have a medical condition that prevents wearing a mask. We ask that attendees in the council chambers keep their phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference and feedback with a hybrid meeting. Zoom procedures. The city of Monterey seeks to continue to offer virtual methods for public participation in meetings. If you aren't joining us in person here in council chambers, there are two ways to virtually participate in this meeting. You may join the meeting directly on Zoom Gov using the Zoom app on your computer or mobile device, and you can also call into the Zoom meeting. To join the meeting on Zoom on your computer, smartphone, or telephone, use the link or phone number on the agenda at isearchmonterey.org. To call into the Zoom meeting, dial toll-free 833-568-8864, then enter meeting ID 160-839-54199. And if prompted to enter a participant ID, press pound. Detailed instructions on using Zoom are available at monterey.org/public meetings. To make a public comment using the Zoom app, you can virtually raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you dialed in by phone, raise your hand by dialing *9 and then unmute yourself when called upon by dialing *6. You must do both. Public commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak. I will call on each public speaker in the order of their hands raised. Please stay within the time limit that will be established for today's meeting, which we will show using a countdown timer on the screen. If you are connected live on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. Today's meeting is also streamed live on the city's YouTube account, which is accessible at youtube.com/City of Monterey with an approximate 10-second delay, and on Comcast channel 25 up to a 90-second delay. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start. Do we have any public comment?
No
And-
public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, thank you. And any, then following, do we have any board member comments before we get going?
Other than we probably should take roll.
Yes, could we do that, please? Thank you.
Rick.
Rick.
Sorry. Rick Aldinger,
I'm here.
Justin Chang,
I'm here.
Carol Trebajian,
I'm here.
Rick Hoyer.
Here.
Nick Sina is unable to attend today.
Thank you. Thank you. So no other board member comments?
I have a comment.
Okay, thank you, Justin.
Yeah, can we just welcome Interim Director Rennie? Hi, welcome.
Hi. Yes, thank you, Andrea. She's not interim to the city, God bless her, but she is. She does a great job.
Thank you. And then I'd also like to introduce Tom Hardy. Some of you may know him. So he is now our acting city engineer, and I will continue to do city traffic engineering duties. So we're splitting up the hats that we're wearing. So thank you, Tom, and thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So shall we start? First, on the agenda, we have the approval of the April 11th, 2022 minutes. I move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Then could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Rick Aldinger,
I abstain. I was not present.
Justin Chang,
Yes,
Carol Trebajian,
Yes,
and Rick Hoyer.
Yes.
thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to the review of the unaudited expenditures from July 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022 for conformance to Measure P and S language. Hoyer, you have anything?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. We're going to go over the unaudited expenditures for the period of June 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022, the first 3 quarters. So if you pay attention to the blue column, so we have our total revenue up through April of $7,160,082. Total interest $63,804 for for total revenues during that period of $7,223,886. Our expenditures, we have the storm drains, $85,287. Our sidewalks, $652,242. Pavements are $1.3 million. ADA is $510,000 for total expenditures of $2.5 million. And then, so our revenue over expenditures for that period is $4,676,182. I'm just going to go over, we'll talk about this a little bit more later in detail. So I want to go over the year-to-year comparison. So comparing this time last year, the same dates from 4/30/2021 to 4/30/2022, our tax revenues total is $7,223,886, which is a change of $1.7 million, so 31% increase. And then our expenditures are from this time last year was 6.45, this year is 2.54. So we have a decrease 61% of 3.9 million. So again, our revenues over expenses are 4.6. That change is 5.6. And so details you can see starting on page 3, the Measure P to storm drains. We have all the descriptions and the vendors listed for each area. So the storm drains, sidewalks. I'm not going to go in detail for them because you have them all here. Pavements, the ADA. Again, so if there are any questions on the descriptions, we'll be happy to answer them for you.
I have a question. Okay, this is the 7,223 is through 4/30. Do we have it could have been 1920, either one, 1819 or 1920, what the total was collected as of 4/30 in either of 19 and or 20?
We don't have that information. We just have the year over year from one year to the next. If you would like that included for the next quarter, we can do it.
Okay, thank you. Rick, you have a question?
Yeah, I was kind of trying to figure out, where do you think we are going to end up? It looks like in the last 2 months of last year, we gained roughly $3 million in those 2 months. If that were the case again, we'd be almost at 18, 19 figures. Where in your crystal ball do you think we're going to end up?
That was why I was asking that question about where we were in those prior years. Yeah, exactly.
I honestly don't have those figures before me.
Oh, I'm asking you to guess, actually.
Oh, okay.
Your crystal ball.
I'm just thinking just basically because how we just finished up, well, almost finished the budget, and looking at the numbers seem to be strong coming in. So I think we will be close to where we were prior pandemic, but not quite there, but close to it. But it looks like numbers are coming in pretty strong. So moving forward for the next year, I'm expecting it to kind of, for some areas probably exceed, but be very, very close to pre-pandemic time years.
I have another question then too. Do we, when in sales tax collection, and I don't remember, if I do, I don't remember the answer to it. Do we separate out this? Is it just sales tax in general? Do we separate it out as to what comes in from like food and beverage from the restaurants, or rentals from AV rentals, or conference center stuff? Is it separated out that way? Are you able to tell where the sales tax revenues are coming from? My question for that, because of that, is how we are knowing whether or not the group business is coming back enough, because there is substantial sales tax collection in food and beverage and equipment rentals when you have groups.
I can get you some information from that. Our sales tax, for the most part, the way that we receive it is not, it's not separated out. However, we do get information, more detailed information from our tax consultants. So there's part of that is proprietary that we can't share. There's other parts that is, so I can probably get you more information. Just let me pull our last reports and see what I can actually share.
Yeah, I would be interested in that, because the more that continues to ramp up, the better the sales tax collections are
Yeah.
gonna be.
The group sales I do know are lagging a little bit. I mean, the individuals during the week is coming in, but the group is still lagging a little bit.
Right. I mean, you're getting the money, we're getting money in TOT because there's still a lot of leisure travel.
Right.
But that's not helping us in the sales tax because those people don't spend the same kind of money,
Right.
the leisure people as the groups do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Well, I've got a couple questions on the detail on the report.
Okay.
And it's probably for Tom, I guess, or maybe Andrea. Dudek, who's a consultant, obviously, who's on call, what exactly do they do? 'Cause they seem to be all over the map what they're doing, from archaeological to sediment to other things.
So you're completely correct. So they do help us with some biological monitoring studies and archaeological. So they do have their hand on anything. So if we have to do a measure PNS project and it's an archaeologically sensitive area, we do contract with DUDEC for that. Also for some of our Iris Canyon, for example, they do help us with biological also.
Thank you, Andrea. And are we still in the same position we were several years ago, where almost the entire city is viewed as archaeologically sensitive?
Yes, those areas have not changed yet. So yes.
Okay. So for everyone else on the call, it means we dig into a sidewalk to put up a street sign. We need an archaeologist watching.
We're 100% historic, are you telling?
Almost.
Hysteric and historic, right? Great. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Then could
I'll
I,
make a motion. We find the expenditures consistent with Measure P and S.
Second, Rick Aldinger.
do we have any discussion?
No discussion.
Then could we have a roll call vote, please?
Rick Aldinger,
Yes.
Justin Chang,
Yes.
Carol Trebajian,
Yes.
and Rick Hoyer.
Yes.
Okay, next we have the unaudited periodic report for the period of July 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022.
Okay, so we just talked about some of the details. I'm gonna get out. So let's talk about from inception, from April 30th, well, through April 30th, 2022, we have total revenue, including interest, of 65.8 million. And then we all have total expenditures of 55.4 million. Our fund balance is 10.4 million. So for the first 3 quarters of FY 21-22, that's the period of July 21 or July 1, 21 through April 30. Total revenue we talked about was 7.2 million. Total expenditures 2.54 million, and the change in fund balance is an increase of 4.6. So our projects during 2021 continue to go on as scheduled. And that is it for the details.
My only question is on the second page on the grid where you have percentage of change.
Mhm.
Isn't that a 598% increase, not decrease?
Yes.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. We'll make sure that is changed.
We don't want to freak people out.
I understand. I will make sure.
Okay, question, Andrea, what is the PCI today?
The PCI today is 68.
Okay. And in terms, the expenditures have been lower this year, I guess because, can you explain why so far the expenditures have been lower?
Yes, so we are ramping up to do so what we did is we did ramp up some of the ADA signals and some of the other projects that we had, road rehab. So if we have a couple of slurry contracts, they tend to be more inexpensive. So that's what we did. We had a couple of slurry contracts. Right now, for example, we're working on Van Buren. That's a road rehab project. That one is close to $1 million. Road rehabs are a lot more expensive. We also have curb ramps going on New Monterey right now. That's a contract for $400,000. In the fall, we're going to have RSR 4, and that is going to be rubberized chip seal. So what we did is we also got a grant from Cal Recycle so that we can also augment our Measure PS dollars with grant funding. So that is going to be in the fall. And then we have a couple other bigger projects that are in the works. They have been in design. So a lot of times when we have slurry, the amounts go down a little bit as we go into the road rehabs and signalized intersections. They tend to go up a little bit.
And you, recycles, that's great. Have you had any other joint, because I know you've looked into maximizing the, by joining with other areas. Have you done anything else lately in that realm?
No, we're going to work on the Cal Recycle one that is in the fall. And then we're also working on applying for a second round of Cal Recycle. And that would be for a project in the spring of 2023.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Director King, if we were to adjust revenue numbers for inflation, is there an optimal index you would suggest we use? CPI, PPI, anything specific?
I don't have a specific one. There are 3 or 4 different ones up here that we tend to use. There's one, I think the San Francisco or one, and at least 2 or 3 that we use for different things. So I think the one that the coastal San Francisco one is probably the better one if you want to adjust.
Thank you. And Director Rennie, do you think if revenue were to hold steady for the next couple of years, let's say, do you anticipate we'd be on track to get to PCI 75?
I think so. If revenues are steady and we're able to take care of some of the road rehabs, one of the challenges is obviously the price of oil. So Caltrans has an index. Anytime the price of oil during COVID, so for example, for the index that Caltrans, and don't quote me on the numbers because I'm just going to rough order of magnitude. I don't remember exactly what they are. So if you look at the Caltrans index for oil prices during COVID, they're around the 200 range. Right now, I think they're in a 600, 700 range. So price of oil has gone up considerably, as we're all aware. So we're trying to work, and I'm working with Tom Hardy and a couple of our other engineers on trying to see how far we're going to be able to get and how we can get the PCI to 75. So I'll probably have more information at the next meeting, but we are looking at everything that we're doing. So for example, we were looking, and I know that you all received an updated list with the treatments that we did. So it's a part of the package. So if you look at a slurry will add about 7 points to your PCI. And obviously that's the cheaper, not a rehab. But if you do a rehab, it'll add 14 points to your PCI. It's also a lot more costly. So we're looking at forecasting what we can do. We're trying to do things like get Cal Recycle grants and do a rubberized chip seal on some of our streets to carry them over a little bit. And then we're looking also at maybe slurring some of the streets. We did slurry 5 to 7 years ago to keep that PCI higher.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rick, and then I have a question too, then, speaking of slurry seal.
And I think Andre just answered my question. I was wondering if we are at a point where some of the earliest projects done are up for either a reapplication of slurry, or if they're being assessed for other reconstruction, and you kind of did answer that.
Yes, thank you. And so we are, oh, I apologize, Carol, sorry.
I think initially when we started that Steve said something about a slurry seal would be good for about 6 years, an average of about 6 years. And that actually is in my question too, then is added, because we've got all these segments and I can see them alphabetical order, but you don't know when they were done. And I can say in the beginning, toward the beginning of Measure P, that my street was slurry sealed. And that's the next question is it time then to start going back through and doing it over again?
Yes, it is time to look at doing some of the streets over again.
Yeah, because I mean, it's interesting to see, you see what work has been done on the streets, but doesn't say when it was done. And since
Yes,
I have learned something between PCI and slurry seal, I know enough to be dangerous. I don't think even dangerous, but that I do know that does need to be redone in order to keep the PCI up.
correct, because we're always just trying to catch up, right? It's always going down and we're trying to catch up as it's going down. So absolutely, you're correct. We're going to look at doing slurry on some of the streets again.
Okay, thank you. Rick Hoyer?
Yeah, I'll kind of jump ahead. Maybe we'll be getting it when we go over the big long list. But Andre, you may want to look at Alta Mesa Circle. Somehow I don't think the PCI is 5. I can actually drive on it. And a 5 would be worse than the worst street in the city.
No, you're correct. We'll look at that one.
That might help a teeny bit on your PCI, going from probably in the 70s, but yeah.
We'll audit the weird numbers. Again, we have Street Saver. We're trying to get this published. I know you had it requested on the last meeting. So we try to get it out as quick as possible. So we'll audit it for next time to make sure you don't have a number like that stands out. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah, I looked to see if there was anything else in the city even remotely close. I mean, no, there had to be a typo because I drive it every day and it has some issues, but it ain't that bad.
Not that bad, yeah, right. Perfect. Okay. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
And we need to, if we could, accept the unaudited periodic report for the period of July 1, 2021 through April 30, 2022, please. Roll call vote.
I move to accept the report.
Second.
Any further conversation about this? If not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Rick Aldinger,
Yes.
Justin Chang,
Yes.
Carol Trebajian,
Yes.
and Rick Hoyer.
Yes.
Right. So last, we need to review the street rehabilitation and reconstruction report from 2015 through March 2015 through June 2022.
I think the only question I've got, Andrea, is so like, I'm looking at Jesse Street from Withers to David. PCI is 35, and it says we did a chip seal and slurry seal. So that's 35 after we did that work?
Just one quick second, I'm finding.
No problem. I just happened to.
I'll mark that one too, and we'll come back with.
Okay, I don't need to know actually afterwards. I just happened to be flipping through what else was real low, because since this is all stuff we did work on, it's kind of surprised to see something low on it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're absolutely We'll take a look at all the low ones, and verify them. Like I said, we're just trying to get, thing quickly out, but we'll look at it. And then also, we are looking at working on the map. I know you had a request to identify some street segments that had other types of funding too, so we are working on that one.
Thank you. Rick Aldinger, you have a question?
Thank you. On the reconstruct structure, which appears several times, just for my own recollection, you get a definition for what that entails and the difference between a reconstruct AC and a reconstruct ST.
Actually, I don't know what the ST and the AC, well, the AC is AC asphalt, but ST, I'm not sure. Max, do you know what ST stands for on Street Saver?
No, I'm not sure the difference in the reference there.
Okay, I will mark that also. We'll come back with an answer.
Then
Thank
if
you.
if we're asking about that, because I saw it in my, the difference between you have a slurry seal, you have a slurry seal type 3, there are different types of slurry seal. I know the chip seal, I see that, but what's a slurry seal and a slurry seal type 3?
All right, Max, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. It has to do with the size of aggregate that's used in the seal application. So a type 3 has larger rocks than a type 2 does. And we usually use a type 2 as the most common. 3 is used on a arterial and heavily used street. And we don't typically use a type 1, but there's also a type 1.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
And could I have a move to approve the street rehabilitation and reconstruction report from March 2015 through June 2022?
So moved, Rick Aldinger.
Seconded, Rick Hoyer.
Any further discussion? No public comment? And could we have a roll call vote, please?
Rick Aldinger,
Yes.
Justin Chang,
Yes.
Carol Trebajian,
Yes.
Rick Hoyer,
Yes.
And I think we are done now. We have any other questions? Not, I think we have a move to adjourn. Andrea, if could you possibly just give me a call? Rick's got a question, but I have a question about a signal light over in my neighborhood, which doesn't pertain to this committee. So if you could give me a call, I'd really appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm muted. I don't know that I have your number, but I think I have your email.
Yeah, but let me give you my cell phone number. It's 915-7014.
Okay.
Rick Aldinger?
So since we had adjourned, that was actually, I have just a request on a
Okay.
Yes, and then mine is the Fremont and Casanova, which I know Steve said had some ghosts in it or something. It's freaky. It's still freaky or semi-freaky.
So Fremont and Casanova, you're saying you're getting ped calls on that one?
It will sometimes, it doesn't, it goes Fremont and then it'll alternate on both sides of Casanova. And sometimes it won't. And then sometimes it's on the side where the gas station, the gym is, goes on forever and finally goes to green on the other side and lasts maybe, you can't even, I can say I can be the first car in line and be halfway through the light and it's already gone to yellow. It's weird.
Okay.
Where the other side is lasting for about a minute or a minute and a half.
Hey, Andrea, sorry, it's not street light related, but there's some brickwork that's heading in on the crosswalk into the sports center. It's just something I see every day. It hasn't been replaced, I think, from whichever utility worked on it.
Which I think that was PG&E. So on right adjacent to the sports center?
Yeah, if I'm heading toward downtown from the baseball field and the first crosswalk.
We do have a project to fix those curbs and put curb ramps there. So I'll see what the status of it is. I know PG&E did do some, they did do a lot of work and they went right through that crosswalk.
Perfect. Hey, I just see it every day and I remember walking over it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, though. Thank you. We got all the housekeeping. Not all. Thank you, everyone. And we'll look forward to seeing you. And thank you, Andrea and Tom. Thank you, all of you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.